What's good?
It's got it.
I want to talk about rules and how they don't necessarily apply in reality. Well, maybe think of this was driving, right? There's rules of the road and rules you learn in class and etc. And then you get out on the road and then it's a different story, right? Like you can see the drivers, the driving cars or whatever for the classes, and they're always driving just not like anybody else. They're always driving slower and more cautious because there's an instructor with them and they need a pass, right? But once you get into the real world, you gotta, take off the safety measures a little bit, because if you keep driving like that, you're not gonna go with the flow of traffic, and so you're not gonna abide by the unofficial rules of driving, shall we say. And I'm from New Jersey, so we have a reputation for driving a little ridiculously, I would say, but it's more flow with it, somebody in front of you is going 15 over, then it's more or less okay for you to go 15 over because he's going to get pulled over, not you, right? This also applies in schools, right? Like, obviously there's rules for school, and you see it with kids who are excellent students, right? Straight A's, work really hard, go to great university, whatever, do a good job. Then you get into the job market or the real world, and you might not stack up as highly as you did in a school environment. Obviously, it depends on your occupation and whatnot, and how you are as a person, and what type of, I don't know, everything like that. There's factors that go into play, right? But to take rules and structure, right, as the end-all be-all of what it takes to become successful or to reach your goals is not how it plays out in reality. Sometimes you have to use your best judgment and kind of bend the rules within reason, and I'm notorious for that, right? This is gonna be another bit I might talk about now, but authority, right? Frankly, this is from Sopranos, but frankly, Tony, you have a problem with authority, and it's true, right? And it kind of goes into what I was talking about yesterday with blind faith. If you give an institution like the police, right? The police, if you give them blind faith, human nature comes into play, and that's when you start to see corruption and mishandling situations and whatever. But if you keep those institutions in check, due to visibility and etc., whatever, then they have a reason to keep the moral compass, keep the rules of reality a thing, because then otherwise then you have like riots and different things, and anti-police sentiment as well, right? And you see this everywhere. You see this in banking and healthcare and schools, right? You give these institutions blind faith and belief that, oh, they're smart, they'll do the right thing, and 9 times out of 10 they don't, because human nature and bureaucracy comes into play a little bit, and people take advantage of the system, right? So yeah, it would be lovely to have trust in the government and the schools that they want to teach your kids everything they need to know to be successful. That's just not true. And we're still kind of in a point in history where, especially in America, where we let a lot of shit slide. And times are changing a little bit. And in my belief, that's why a recession, depression, etc. has been pushed off for so long, because the powers that be understand that people are fed up. I mean, look at inflation now. People are fed up about gas prices, inflation, consumer price index as well, everything. With the internet as well, you can see and communicate way easier than ever before. So a depression-like event now compared to the 1920 or 1929, 1932, because there was two. People don't know that really. An event like that, again, with another 10 years of misery, would not bode well with the American people. You will see lawlessness, essentially, in lots of parts of the country, especially the cities. So it's dangerous. So that's why these institutions try to give the illusion of visibility, right? That they're doing the right thing and there's checks and balances and etc. Well, in reality, there isn't. I dropped out of college. Personality clash, I hopped around majors, etc. Like I said, I don't really fare well with authority, especially when I disagree with the actions taking place. I'm gonna leave it at that. No, because so knowing that, how do you proceed, right? You know that the healthcare system's not in your best interest because the pharmaceutical companies own the healthcare system, etc. Even the government, parts of the government. The schools aren't looking out for your children's best interests or your best interests. So what do you do about that? The government's not looking out for your best interests, so what do you do about that? And this is the reoccurring message, I suppose, in these videos I make, that you have to raise your awareness, which means you have to look outside of these institutions for knowledge. And that's why I believe YouTube's a very, very, very important tool. And the internet in general. You can learn pretty much everything. I'm self-taught in various topics over the last, I don't know. Once I started getting into investing, I started looking more into the social sciences, right? Because I believe investing isn't always charts and graphs and financials and forums and whatnot. I believe it's, if you're trying to predict trends and predict how people are and how people react, the social sciences are really important too. Like, for example, I've studied psychology extensively. Not as much as, other people, but I have a buddy, I don't know if he's ever gonna watch this, but I have a buddy who's in grad school to be a psychiatrist or psychology stuff. Even then, what he learns isn't, I wouldn't even say it's psychology, because they essentially learn how to diagnose people. They don't teach you how to understand yourself and understand others, and even like the gray areas of psychology where it's like, oh, you don't have studies and research, so I believe the psychology taught in schools is not even 10% of the picture. Tim Leary, he's very famous, or he was. I think he's passed away. Rest in peace. But he spoke about his psychedelic experiences. He said one psychedelic experience taught him more about the human mind than 30 years of psychology study. And he was a Harvard guy, or Calvert, I forget which. I think he was Harvard taught and then Berkeley teaching or something. And it's a shame because, all right, so my dad is he teaches in high school, right? And I've asked him before, what are the jobs people are tending to lean towards now, because it's been a big swap. Some of the biggest one now is YouTube guy or star or whatever for the young kids, right? But so he's in a high school, and I asked him, what are the jobs people are leaning towards? And he did say psychology, and that broke my heart for two reasons. One, they're grossly misled about the psychology practice, right? And what you learn, and etc. And two, I understand that people that dive into psychology or want to be in that profession have issues within themselves that they don't understand and that are trying to learn. So becoming a psychologist is not the best route if you're trying to learn yourself and how to help yourself or the people around you, right? Again, bringing up my buddy again, I'm not going to speak on him, but he spoke about some of the people in his classes and he's dealt with, and some of the people in his classes are far mentally worse than some of the patients he sees. And even then, he asked me questions about his issues. Again, I'm not bragging, but when he comes to me with his issues, right? And he's going to become a psychologist. He's like, you'd make a great psychologist to go to school for that. I'm like, fuck that, bro. I'm not going back to school. Because it's the clash, you know? Because say I have information that's not taught in a textbook that I want to bring about to people and help them. It's like, well, if it doesn't go with the guidelines and the standards, then you can't really talk about it. At least in school and in the training. Once you get in your practice, is a different story. But to even get to the point where you can speak to people about what they should, or not even should, but the possibilities of what they can do, or what they can do to help fix themselves, or whatever. You have to go through the bullshit. And frankly, it's one of those things, not willing to go through the bullshit. I don't even know what we started talking about. Rules. I believe it's more important to develop a strong moral code and then live your life than to blindly follow the rules set by society, religion, whatever. Yes, you'll run into some problems, especially when you're young and you're learning and you're working your way up into what you can get away with and what you can't. I don't know if this is a mission of breaking the law, but in New Jersey, the camera, there's no cameras at the lights. So theoretically, you can run red lights without getting a ticket for it. But that's when it comes into your awareness and are you able to make a distinction of when something's okay and not without having a third party influence your decision outright. I'm gonna leave it at that. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.